In a world where the weather is permanently set to miserable, the sea is always angry, and the only hope for humanity rests on a tiny windswept rock, comes a show so relentlessly bleak, it makes a funeral look like a party. Prepare yourselves for Helgoland 513. From the creative minds that brought you, well, probably some other German television programs, comes this dystopian thriller that dares to ask the question, what if the apocalypse happened, but only in a really small, specific location? Because, you know, the rest of the planet is just thriving. We're totally sure about that. Picture this, the future. Or maybe it's the present. Or, honestly, who even knows anymore? The important thing is, climate change has officially won the game. The world is a soggy, post-apocalyptic mess, and the only place that seems to have escaped the devastation is this little archipelago called Helgoland, which, let's be honest, sounds less like a sanctuary and more like a place you'd find a colony of particularly grumpy seagulls. And what's the secret to Helgoland's survival? Is it advanced technology? A hidden power source? A pact with ancient sea gods? Nope. It's selective breeding. Because nothing says post-apocalyptic utopia like ruthlessly deciding who gets to live based on their genetic predisposition. You know, for the greater good. Or something like that. So, the island is governed by this council of, well, let's just call them people who really need a hug. They're the ones who decide who's in and who's out, the ultimate arbiters of who gets to stay on the island and who gets the boot. And by boot, I mean banished to the mainland, which, apparently, is considered a fate worse than being slowly digested by a giant squid. Even though we're constantly reminded that the mainland is a radioactive wasteland. So, you know, consistent world building is their strong suit. And get this, they have a geneticist. Because, of course, they do. And this geneticist is obsessed with, you guessed it, creating the perfect human. Because, apparently, the apocalypse wasn't caused by, say, environmental collapse or societal breakdown, but by a distinct lack of perfect people. Makes perfect sense, right? Right? And the drama. Oh, the drama. Everyone is sleeping with everyone else's partner, betraying their closest allies, and generally being awful to each other. Because, you know, that's what you do when you're trying to rebuild civilization. You prioritize infidelity and backstabbing over, say, establishing a sustainable food supply. But wait, you might exclaim. Isn't there a compelling narrative about survival and the indomitable spirit of humanity? Well, yes, technically. If by compelling you mean occasionally predictable and often ridiculous. And if by indomitable spirit you mean a constant struggle for power and resources, punctuated by long, meaningful stares into the perpetually overcast sky. We've got forbidden love. We've got shocking family secrets. We've got, wait for it, a shadowy organization operating in the shadows. Because every dystopian narrative must have a shadowy organization. It's like a fundamental law of storytelling. Right up there with the hero always wins in the end, and exposition is your friend. And the acting? Well, it's there. The actors are definitely physically present. They deliver their lines. They sometimes emote. It's a performance of a sort. Think high school drama club's rendition of Hamlet, but with more rain and less iambic pentameter. But hey, at least the scenery is dramatically depressing. I mean, if you're into that sort of thing. Endless grey skies, turbulent water, and windswept landscapes. It's like a postcard from the most depressing vacation destination imaginable. And the music. Oh, the music. It's dramatic, and moody, and utterly generic. Think standard orchestral score, but with more angst. And a mournful oboe solo thrown in for good measure. Because why not? So, if you're looking for a show that will leave you feeling utterly despondent about the future of humankind, then Helgoland 513 is your cup of tea. It's a masterclass in misery. A symphony of suffering. Well, you get the idea. Just don't expect to enjoy it. Unless you're the kind of person who derives pleasure from being emotionally pummeled for hours on end. In which case, have at it. But seriously folks, this show is a lot. It's heavy. It's dark. It's German. Which, explains a lot. So, grab your favorite comfort food, you'll definitely need it. Prepare to question all your life choices, and brace yourself for a viewing experience that will make you wonder if maybe, just maybe, the apocalypse wouldn't be so bad after all. Because that's what Helgoland 513 is all about. Existential dread, served ice cold. With a side of questionable genetics. For the whole family. And the ending? Well, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But suffice it to say, it's inconclusive. Because why provide the audience with any sense of closure when you can leave them hanging, wondering if humanity is doomed and if they should start stockpiling canned goods? Spoiler alert, probably. So, there you have it. Helgoland 513. A show that proves that even on the brink of extinction, there's always room for more interpersonal conflict and questionable fashion choices. Seriously, what's with all the drab clothing? Couldn't they find a single pop of color? Maybe a nice, cheerful shade of beige? But hey, at least it's unique. I mean, I've never seen a show where the primary conflict is between people who live on a tiny, depressing island and people who live on a slightly larger, slightly more depressing mainland. So, yeah, go watch it. If you dare. Just don't blame me if you end up wanting to move to a bunker and never see the sun again. You've been warned. Repeatedly. Helgoland 513. Because the end of the world is just the beginning of the petty squabbles. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Because we crave validation. Almost as much as Helgoland needs. Well, a competent leader. And maybe a decent stylist. Seriously, someone get those people some new clothes. And some sunshine. They look like they haven't seen daylight in decades. Which, come to think of it, they probably haven't. Helgoland 513. It's a show that someone made. And you can watch it if you really want to. No pressure. But seriously, watch it. It's an experience. Yeah, an experience. An experience in abject misery. Helgoland 513. Coming soon to, well, wherever German television shows go to die. Probably on some obscure streaming platform you've never heard of. And remember folks, stay tuned for more honest trailers. Because we're not afraid to make fun of even the most soul-crushing television programs. Because someone has to. And it might as well be us. We're masochists. Helgoland 513. You've been warned. So many times. I'm starting to feel like a broken record. Now go forth and be mildly entertained. Maybe. Or just watch something else. Seriously, there are other shows out there. Ones with, actual character development and storylines that don't involve constant rain and existential dread. Definitely better ones. Like, almost anything else. But hey, you do you. We're not your therapist. Just don't come crying to us when you've wasted 8 hours of your life watching people be miserable on a tiny island. Because we told you so. Again and again and again. Seriously, how many times do we have to say it? Helgoland 513. It's a choice. A choice you can make. Or not make. Seriously, no judgment here. Okay, maybe a little judgment. But hey, it's your time. Spend it however you want. Just don't say we didn't warn you. Because we did. Repeatedly. Ad nauseam. Helgoland 513. Prepare to be underwhelmed.